Welcome! This is a short introduction to the concept of platformization. Platformization is defined as the penetration of infrastructures, economic processes, and governmental frameworks of digital platforms in different economic sectors and spheres of life, as well as the reorganization of cultural practices and imaginations around these platforms. Platforms are two-sided markets which aggregate buyers and end users and side sellers and complementers. Platform architectures are modular in design, so its technology can be selectively opened up to complementers to build and integrate their services to be used by end users. Platforms can be understood as reprogrammable digital infrastructures that facilitate and shape personalized interactions among end users and complementers, organized through the systematic collection, algorithmic processing, monetization, and circulation of data. The main stakeholders of a platform are end users and complementers, for example, app developers publishing in the Apple App Store. Platforms provide a technological framework for others to build on, which are the root of a platform's evolution and growth. For example, application programming interfaces, APIs, which allow for data flows with third parties. Or software development kits, which enable third parties to integrate their software with platform infrastructures. Platforms as infrastructure. Platforms nowadays can be considered as infrastructures, with major platform companies emerging as the modern-day equivalents of the railroad, telephone, and electric utility monopolies of the late 19th and the 20th centuries. Digital technologies have made possible lower cost, more dynamic and more competitive alternatives to governmental or quasi-governmental monopoly infrastructures. For example, a social media platform is understood as a data infrastructure that hosts a variety and constantly evolving set of platform instances. Each app then contributes to the platform's expanding boundaries as it forges both computational and economic connections with complementers such as content developers, businesses, content creators, and advertisers. Extremely popular and widely known platform companies are, for example, Facebook, Twitter, but also Amazon or the Apple App Store. Advantages of platforms and why only a few platforms dominate the market. Platforms can gain a competitive advantage by connecting various distinct groups with each other, the so-called multi-sided market. The advantage of a platform is leveraged by so-called network effects, meaning that the platform's advantage grows with the amount of users. There are two types of network effects. Direct network effects arise when the benefit of network participation to a user depends on the number of other network users with whom they can interact. For example, the attraction for users to use a social media platform, think of Facebook and Instagram, grows with the number of users to interact with. Indirect network effects occur when a group of a network benefits from another group. For example, end customers of eBay benefit from more retailers using eBay and vice versa. End customers are offered a bigger variety of products and retailers achieve higher sales with more end customers using eBay. Platform markets have a winner-take-all outcome, meaning that platforms with the stronger networks win. This invariably leads to the accumulation of capital and power among a small group of platform corporations. The collective activities of both end users and complementers and the response of platform operators to these activities determine a platform's continued growth or its demise. The power relations among platform operators, end users, and complementers are extremely volatile and inherently asymmetrical as operators are fully in charge of a platform's techno-economic development. The rapid emergence of a handful of platform companies challenges the power of industry incumbents. What is problematic or the dark basis of succeeding platforms? Research suggests that platforms shift the labor relationship among users. Critical political economists have drawn attention to issues of labor exploitation, surveillance, and imperialism. Cultural study concepts such as aspirational labor, relational labor, and hope labor show how specific practices and understandings of labor emerged within platform markets, which emphasize that users often engage in labor from which a platform benefits, but leaving the labor unpaid. Furthermore, newly emerging occupations such as streamers, vloggers, and bloggers tend to reify gendered social hierarchies that leave women's work unrecognized and/or undercompensated. Platformization is an interactive process based on 3 institutional dimensions. The first dimension is the development of data infrastructures, datafication. Platform infrastructures are integrated with a growing number of devices, from smartphones and smartwatches to household appliances and self-driving cars. This myriad of platform extensions allows platform operators to transform virtually every instance of human interaction into data: rating, paying, searching, watching, talking, friending, dating, driving, walking, etc. This data is then algorithmically processed and, sometimes under strict conditions, haphazardly made available to a wide variety of external actors. The second dimension of platformization concerns markets, the reorganization and economic relations around two-sided or multi-sided markets. Traditional pre-digital market relations tend to be one-sided, with a company directly transacting with buyers. Conversely, platforms constitute two-sided or increasingly complex multi-sided markets that function as aggregators of transactions among end users and a wide variety of third parties. For example, newspapers were for a long time successful non-digital two-sided markets, attracting readers and advertisers. They're increasingly turned into platform complementers, offering content to end users through platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, who then monetize this content by surrounding it with advertisements. Third, platforms not only steer economic transactions, but also platform-based user interactions. Platforms structure how end users can interact with each other and with complementers through graphical user interfaces, GUIs, offering particular affordances while withholding others, for example in the form of buttons like follow, rate, order, pay, and related metrics. This form of platform governance materializes through algorithmic sorting, privileging particular data signals over others, thereby shaping what types of content and services become prominently visible and what remains largely out of sight. Finally, platforms govern through contracts and policies in the form of terms of service, license agreements, and developer guidelines, all of which have to be agreed with when accessing or using a platform's services. On the basis of these terms and guidelines, platforms moderate what end users and complementers can share and how they interact with each other. Thank you for listening to today's Global Classroom course on platformization.